This is 180 milliseconds too late, and those of you who were early and on time, I guess, got to see a little preview of what's to come with Bromeo, who'll be coming later. Good afternoon, good evening, and all of that, everybody. So who's here? Yoshi's here, of course. Dutch is here. Flosie's here. Nice Panda, Velocity, Neonics. Dutch, I think I mentioned Dutch already. Arad! Hello, Arad. And Gore, all the way from Canada. Hello, Canada. How cold is it in Canada? And Breezy. I didn't skip you, Breezy. Leaving you for last. The best for last. Hello, Breezy. Welcome, good Noob Slice. Well, when the RLCS SSA regional manager joins you on stream, this must mean good things for the future. Maybe Noob Slice has got inside info he can leak to us. I wonder. Probably not, but it's worth shooting my shot. Alrighty, guys. So yeah, it's been a busy time for Rocket League over the last few months. We're coming to the end of a lot of things, but the start of new things, and we'll talk about that. First up, out the gate, I want to give a shout out to Sethi, who tweeted last night that he was in hospital. No information on what was wrong. I asked him if everything's okay. He says he's feeling much better and would be home later today, meaning today on Friday. So hopefully he's well, resting up and on the road to recovery with whatever's been going on. And all right, so that's my shout out to Sethi. And then a couple of newsy items from my side. I have put on my greybeard.gg website, I've integrated a Google Calendar. So we can list all Rocket League events coming up, and you can see yesterday for the 29th, we had RSC League Week 7, and if you hover over the item, It has all the information, the Twitch channel, if it's a tournament with prize pools, all the information needed for that Rocket League event that's happening. And you'll see for December 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, that's RSC Prospect Playoffs. Then we have the Rival Playoffs. Then we have the Elite Playoffs. And then on Sunday the 10th, the Master Playoffs. All the information's then. We'll be talking about that a little bit later with the Bromeo. And then on the 16th and 17th, I don't know if it's a reunion org or a French org called Owned. They are hosting a tournament, a $300 tournament, 3 versus 3. On the 16th of December is a Swiss stage. 17th of December are playoffs. And here's the start GG information. I'm going to put that in chat. So, and if you're listening to this podcast on audio only on Spotify, I'll put in the description for the podcast will be the link to this tournament. If you want to play, if you haven't signed up, get signed up now. I'll be casting, Dutch will be casting, and I'm going to get some of the RSC casters to come and join us for a little bit of fun there. Hello, Jamal. So if you have events, Rocket League events, if you're hosting a freestyle tournament, a 1v1, any activity, please get it to me in my Discord so I can get it onto the calendar so that it is always there. Sorry, Yoshi. I know it's a rough time for a tournament. It's the South Africa December shutdown, but at least there's a tournament happening and going. All right, and then since we're coming to the end of RSC and we've come to the end of the Rumble, things might be a little bit quiet. I'm considering having a 1v1 pentathlon league. Now, of course, pentathlon means 5, so it'll be a 1v1 league, but every series is one regular game of 1v1 Rocket League, one snow day, one rumble, one hoops, one drop shot, and then we'll have a playoffs. The details and how it's going to work, I'm still working on, but I'm considering doing that through December and January to maybe fill a bit of a gap. So that's the plan there. Well, there you go, Yoshi. Get good is the answer to that. Hello, MJ. Good to see you. All right, so that's the pentathlon. More details in my Discord to follow. And then some personal news is that after 2 hard seasons of Rocket League, I'm finally back in Champ 3. Got there earlier today and feeling pretty good about my game right now. And I want to thank 2 people who have been teammates and helped me grind out. First, Max Ninja, who's been in and around helping me out there. And then Jezza Reza, who's been a pretty regular teammate over the last, I think, month and a half, 2 months. We've been grinding. Champ 2 has been hell, absolute hell. But he's been there with me through most of it. And now we're back in Champ 3, so I'm very excited about that. And then, finally, on the personal news front, my birthday is in early January, and I'm going to start 2 one-year challenges. First is got to do with my fitness and weight and all of that, but there is also going to be a Rocket League 1-year challenge. 1v1s and mastering ground control, ball control, car control over the course of a year. And Vander Panda, he's going to be creating content around that on the journey and the progress as we go. And Beastbound is going to be the coach. And on Tuesday, we're going to have our first stream where we're going to plan out this 1-year challenge, what it looks like, what I need to do, what drills, what training packs, all basically we're going to on stream live work out that 1-year plan. And that's going to be pretty cool. Hello, Cody. Welcome. It's early January. 6th of January is the birthday. So, Yoshi, I have a very special plan for you. So this is my plan for you, Yoshi, so I pay a trainer. Twice a week I go for training, and I pay this person just to be there and you can stand there and watch me and count my reps to make sure I actually do the training. And because my self-discipline is so poor, I have to pay someone to do it. So Yoshi, I'm probably going to pay you to literally sit in Discord and make sure I do my drills, because when I'm on my own, I get bored very quickly, and then I start playing games rather than doing the grindy training work. So that's probably going to be your involvement for a start. Indeed, Capricorn King, me and Jesus, we're the same star sign. Make of that what you will. 8th of Jan, holy moly, rock and roll. All right, cool. All right, so that's it on the news. That's general newsy type stuff and a little bit of what's going on with me. Now let's get into the action. RSC, the Rocket Soccer Confederation. It has been 7 weeks. We're about to wrap up the 7th week of league play, and we're going into the playoffs. It feels like just a couple of weeks ago, we were frantically going through all the planning and figuring out and how we're going to do this. And now we're pretty much coming right to the end of season 1. So there's a lot to talk about. We're going to wrap up the whole season of league play. And of course, those of you who are here early got a sneak preview to come and join me to talk about it is Le Bromio. How's it, Bromio?
Hey, how's it going, Greybeard?
It's going actually very, very well, I think. By and large, things seem to be doing what they're supposed to. I just want to make sure your volume's good. Yes, it is. Let me know in chat if Bromio sounds good. All right, so Bromio, I've got a bunch of graphics and there's lots to talk about. But why don't you get us kicked off, and what do we talk about first? There is so much to talk about.
I mean, what do we not talk about? I mean, look, we've had a solid 7 weeks of gameplay now, and I don't think in SSA has there been an event that's been tracking so much data for so many people over such a period of time, and finally, the stats are starting to make sense because, you know, when you're looking at 1 or 2 games, somebody has an absolute cracker. But when you've played 7 series in a row over 7 weeks, then you're seeing the quality of the player there, not how hot they were on the day. So I actually really don't know where to start.
Okay, well, let's start here because the graphics I have. Let's look at at week 6, because one of the many things that the Discord server keeps track of is the stats and who performed well each week. So we have the week 6 stats. So if we start at the prospect league or the prospect tier, I beg your pardon, and so this is week 6. So this is everything. I know with load shedding, some of the games spilled into this week. But this is the end of last week, so it doesn't include the new week's play. And we'll start with all the players of the week in the prospect tier. MVP, biggest points per game, Vino. So congrats, Vino.
Honestly, Vino's been absolutely immense this entire season. Me being a prospect player myself, I know, congratulations. He has been incredible. He's been terrifying to play against, and he's been incredibly hard to get past. He's currently leading the league in most saves. He's got like 45 saves, and the closest person behind him is on 36. And He's got 4 less games played. So that guy has been saving goals left, right, and center, and I wouldn't be surprised if Bijou have conceded the least amount of goals in the league.
Well, I'm sure we'll drill into those stats, and I think when we get to the standings, it's going to be interesting to see that. I mean, look at that: 3 Apex players in Players of the Week, 2 from Bijou, both of them Vino, and then Shens. Look at Shens from Apex, finisher, goals per game, 2 goals per game. The man's turned into a beast.
You know, Apex this season have been an absolute menace. Chadster with all of his mechs and Shens with his demos and goals. They're one of the teams that, look, this was a draft, so nobody could have seen this coming, but they paired up so well into their individual roles. They've had Saucy at the back, so let's not discount anyone. Saucy at the back with Noob Gaming rotating between them. but it's been Shen's creating destruction at the front and Chadster being the one finishing on that. And I think if we have to look at combinations for the season, Shen's and Chadster have been immense.
Wow. All right, so congrats, players of the week for Prospect Tier, Vino, Shens, Chadster. Well done, guys. And then moving on to the rival tier, and again, Bijou and Apex, Bromeo featuring heavily again.
I mean, we casted this game yesterday, and this should have actually been displayed as a graphic before this game, because remember, this is last week. This is not today.
Yes.
And you're seeing Acro, who had a fantastic game. Lunat didn't actually play. And Bijou still came out on top, just showing the depth of the team that they've got going there. But I gotta say, and Color Cold was receiving a lot of the praise early on the season, but he has been solid throughout.
Yes. All right. Well, Lunat, the previous week didn't play the game this week, but well done. And then Akrapovic, and I do you know how to say that name? I've always said Akrapovic, but I don't know if that's correct.
I'm pretty sure it's one of those that if they wanted it to be easier to pronounce, they would have made an easier to pronounce name.
Yeah.
So I don't think he minds too much.
All right, cool. And then moving on to the elite tier, and Yoshi featured quite heavily in the tier last week, but he's a little bit conspicuous by his absence this week, and he was admitting in chat that he didn't have the greatest week. But here it spreads out a little bit. Shadow doing better, but Bijou and Apex still featuring.
Well, you got to see that it was a very closely contested week. I mean, having a look here, in the top, you're seeing 4 separate organizations being represented at the top of each table, and Lonely J Kaister representing Shadow having absolute blinders. Lemons for Apex also. I mean, 474 average points per game. That shows you're having a really, really good game.
Yeah, and I'm just so Unity featuring as well. Hey, there's Breezy in there for Unity. Striker, good shooting percentage, 66% shooting percentage. So that's pretty good going. All right, go ahead.
I gotta say, for Breezy, he's one of those people, whether it's in chat, whether it's in Discord, or whether it's on Players of the Week, he's always there. He's one of those people who I can't forget about him because he's practically in my bedroom.
Okay. And then I'm trying to... The name is cut off there for Playmaker. Who is that?
Quaster.
Quaster. Is it Quaster?
Qyzter.
Okay, no, I know Quaster. Okay, doing quite well there. 1.75 assists. And then saves. Big Mac doing heavy lifting in defense. 2.75 saves. That's a lot of pressure on their net.
I mean, if you divide that by 4, that's a lot of saves.
Yo. Okay. All right, then moving on to our final tier for Players of the Week. Master tier. 2 from Apex. No Bijou featured here. Apex, Dynasty, Unity, and Fort Templar. Lackstar rocking the MVP, 555 average points. And Lackstar again, finisher, goals per game, 1.5. 1.5 seems to be every tier, the top goal scorers at 1.5, except Prospect, Shens, coming in at 2 goals per game.
That's some really impressive stats, but there's something interesting about this player of the week table. Apex and Unity are represented here pretty strongly, and they faced off last week, and it actually ended up in a tie. So for Lackstar to come off as MVP in a tie must show exactly how close that game was.
Yeah, and I mean, we're going to get to the standings shortly. Tristan there for Dynasty they've had a monster season. Have Dynasty, it's been quite a showing from them. So that's going to be pretty awesome when we look forward to the playoffs next week on what happens there. And then, of course, Olympic for Unity on the assists, 1.25, followed by To Die For. Also, I was going to say, is he Unity? Yes, he is. He's also Unity. So, they're doing work there as well.
No, he's definitely putting in the shifts. It's between Olympic, Blade, and To Die For. I think that's been the general starting team. And Olympic has been linking up with some nutty plays with To Die For, and you can see it reflecting on the stats.
And then 3 saves per game for Werty. The 2.75, we were talking about Big Mac, but Werty upping that at 3. That's that's a lot of defensive work going on.
I mean, Hydra took on Professors last week, unfortunately going down 3-1. Very well played by Professors, but it also shows how much pressure Werty was under in that game. 3 saves per game. So he made, if he played the entire series, he made 12 saves across those 4 games.
All right, well, there you go. Players of the week for the games series that have not been played so far this week. But I mean, there's still a few games left to play, and we'll see that reflected in the standings. But I think we're pretty much ready to start. I think for some of the tiers, the playoff teams are kind of locked in and ready to go. And as a reminder, the top 4 in every tier goes through to the playoffs. Those playoffs are happening next week: Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. On stream will be the 2 semi-finals and the grand final. The 3rd, 4th playoff will also be played, but not on stream. And it'll start on Thursday night with the Prospect tier, then Rivals Elite, and then Sunday night will be Masters. So I guess we might as well just go right to the standings, starting in the Prospect tier. And I see there's quite a few series still to be played there, though, Bromeo.
Look, load shedding has not been kind to us. It's actually a miracle that Master Tier knocked out all of their games so early in the week, because they're generally the ones leaving at lastminute.com.
Yeah.
And I think just having a look at the games still to be played, only Dynasty Gold and Unity Prosperity have played their game so far. So what can change is Tanuki haven't played their game yet, so they can extend their lead at the top. They are currently in first, and it doesn't look like they are going to be top. They've got a game up against Obscurity this week. Obscurity is in 3rd position, obviously, on 15 points. But the real interesting matchup, because on 12 points, the difference between Obscurity in 3rd and Dwarfs in 6th is 3 points currently.
Sure.
Which means it's essentially a 4-horse race for the 3rd, 4th position. Either Obscurity, Pearl, Chimera, Dwarfs, they can all make a spot. So entirely depending on how these teams play this week and this last week, that's why I can't even talk about matchups for next week, because the decider on these is it's too close to call.
Yeah, I mean, Tanuki and Gold are pretty much secured in terms of they'll make top 4. Whether they finish 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, or 4th, or whatever is going to depend on some matchups. But Tanuki and Gold from Apex and Dynasty should be going through. And then it's those last 2 slots that are kind of up for grabs.
I just got to point out an interesting stat here. Of the 7 games that Dynasty Gold has played, they've drawn 5 of them. They've won 2.
Wow.
So with 5 draws and 2 wins, they technically haven't lost at all this whole season.
Well, there you go. There, score 1 for consistency.
So it's just to prove how much points actually matter. Even if you draw the entire season, you will still finish high up on the log.
That's amazing.
So props to them. But Obscurity is taking on Tanuki, Potato is taking on Pearl, and Chimera is taking on Dwarfs. Pearl obviously has a big advantage on Brotato. Brotato is the only team in the league to have not won a single game.
Yo.
Yeah, it's rough. I'm on that team.
It's rough out there, Bromeo. But you know what? To be fair, you've been very distracted with adminning the whole thing. You know, it's adminning and playing. It's a tough one.
Yeah, man. Had I known there was going to be this much work when we took it on, I probably still would have done it. But I would have set my bedtime to a little earlier.
Well, I'm just glad I finally decided not to sign up. Saved myself some blushes. All right, cool. Well, let's move on to the rival tier. A little bit more. Well, listen, there's still a lot more games, a lot more series still to be played. But Bijou Diamond, who at the back end of this season, they have been absolute dynamite, and they should, there's no chance. They will finish top of the tier. There's no chance of them being overcome.
Yeah, look, Diamond and Akami went on, last night, and it was a fantastic game. Bijou going out 3-1 victors of that game, so that puts them firmly at the top of the log. Akami can be knocked down to third or fourth, but I can't see them dropping out of contention. Prolific in there with a whisper of it. They have got to put in a good showing up against, let's see, I think it's Valkyrie Knights this week. Yeah, so they're taking on Norns. So Norns are in third, Prolific's in fifth, and a real good showing from either of these teams will be enough to cement their position. If Prolific win, they go into the quarters. I'm sure of it. If it's a tie or something like that, Norns should see it out, and Alliance should hold on their position above.
Well, if Prolific have an epic series and win in a sweep, they're suddenly second.
It's I know we've seen crazier things happen, and I know this league has only been 7 weeks long. That's a month and a half, but the results that we've seen coming out of in rivals, especially prospects and rivals, have been fierce. And to come out on top of the rival tier is definitely something, because it's when the mechanics start hitting in. And really props to Diamond for taking top on this one.
Yeah, they've the matches, they've had a lot of their games on stream, and it's been quite something to watch them. They've done incredibly well. So Bijou Diamond definitely top, but we'll have to wait for the rest of the matches to complete before we know what the playoffs look like there.
So I got to say that Blue definitely hasn't had a very good season. They've posted 4 losses and 2 draws. Still not as bad as the Potatoes, but Basilisk sitting in 6th, still with a possible shot. You could see them topple it off.
Okay.
If Alliance or Norns do not post a goal, post a win, a single point, Basilisk is in for a shot.
Yeah.
So that's when permutations come in, but they're not completely written out. So this is also another 4-horse race.
Yeah, but Diamond at least can get their plans for playoffs underway, because no doubt they'll finish top. They're unassailable there. All right, moving on to Elite standings, and where do we stand there? Huldra have wrapped up. Katsuni still have to have a series. Okay, so a lot more of the series are wrapped up here. So there's 2 games remaining: Kitsune versus White. And as you can see by the log, Kitsune in 2nd, taking on White at 8th. You'd expect Kitsune to put a couple more points on. And the other game to be played is Darkness and Equilibrium. So if Equilibrium technically, and this is an interesting talking point, because I fielded a lot of questions on how tiebreakers are decided, right? Now, to decide a tiebreaker, you first start off with who won the game in which both of them played against each other, right? It's a head-to-head. Yeah.
Right? So who won that game? And if it's in the case of a draw, where Prototype drew with Equilibrium, then it goes down to goal difference in that particular series.
Oh my!
Right, and I think I did the math. I think they both scored 6 goals.
Yeah.
So they will also tie at the second point of separation. And I think only on third does it actually go to goal difference. So Unity Equilibrium can get into the semis, but they have to 1, sweep Shadow.
Yes.
2, score 8 more goals than Darkness in that match. And then, because if they get 7 goals, they go to equal goal difference, and then it gets decided on who forfeited less games. I don't think I've seen a tiebreaker needed to go down to the 4th degree of separation to figure out who does this. But that is if Prototype... Prototype's already played. So yes, this is all on Equilibrium. They have to sweep Shadow, score 8 more goals to secure it. Otherwise, we have to figure out who forfeited less games.
My word. Okay, so also nothing set here yet. Other than Huldra and Katsuni should be finishing first, second, depending on how Katsune's last game goes. But third and well.
No.
Sorry, all the way up to third is set.
Yeah. And it's a very, very, very steep chase for Equilibrium to eke out that fourth. So
yes.
If we had to be pragmatic about this, I'd say the top 4 is locked in. But I do love a dark horse. I do love the romance of a comeback victory. So yes, mathematically it is possible for Equilibrium to take the semi, I mean. And I would love to see it.
Yeah.
It would be great content.
That would be fantastic. Okay, so that final to be set, but in Masters, I think we are locked in with Masters.
Yep, absolutely done. The only game that hasn't been played is Abyss and Hydra, but that's a wooden spoon challenge. They just don't want to be the ones who finish the bottom.
Yes.
But yes, the order as you see it now is the order that it will become next week, Sunday. So the semifinals are going to be Red versus Crystal and Unity versus Professors.
And it's probably worth mentioning the series last night with Draugr and Unity, which it was one of those. You have to take the highs and the lows of any competition, but that was really, really rough with Draugr because Sweaty halfway through the first game disconnected and then wasn't there for the second game, and it was chaos.
Yeah, that was hard because Sweaty is obviously their marquee signing. Not to take anything away from the rest of the team, they're brilliant, but having a backup, having to be subbed up, from Elite Tier into a Master game where everything is on the line, it's rough. So congratulations to Red for taking the. Sorry, my apologies. Congratulations to. No, it was Red.
It was Red, yeah.
No. I'm looking at the wrong week. My apologies.
Okay.
It was Unity, obviously sweeping Draugr, but I think in order to get, I think to secure a spot, they needed a draw for Draugr.
Yeah.
So they needed 2-game wins, and unfortunately with Sweaty dropping out and all of the chaos that it created a really, really tough one, and that allowed for Professors to come from behind and snatch a playoff spot when they swept Apex 4-0. So that means that before this game, Professors were on 12 points, which would have put them in 6th position or 5th position. So it was a smash and grab by Professors, but well done to them.
Yeah, listen, a great performance on the back end by Professors, because they had the first half of the season was a struggle for them, and it was a surprise to see them where they were. But I think it was Daps came in late and has had quite an impact on their fortune since then.
No, 100%. Happy Meal, they're from the beginning with Friction. They started with 5 BS, I think. But unfortunately, I think the team was just too expensive on the top end. So they balanced it out a bit, brought in DApps, and they've had a lot better fortunes. So yeah, congrats on them. They're one of those people who one of those teams who turned their season around.
Oh, fantastic stuff. So, because this is locked in, we know these are the final standings, other than that last game that has to be played. We do know what the Master playoff is going to look like next Sunday. So that's in, well, how's my maths? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 10 days time. Sunday week, the Master playoffs will be held. And we'll come back to the franchise standings. And but there we go. Those are the matchups. Unity will take on the Professors, and Red will take on Crystal.
So, I just want to put it like this. A couple of months ago, would you have ever seen, say, let's just take Red for example. They've got Guns, Tristan, Jareth, Strutik. And Crystal has got Wilu, Archeon, Zaripai, and Heatsy. Would you have ever seen them all in a team together?
No.
Taking it's wild. I mean, Unity, for example, to die for. Professors, Happy Meal, DApps, Tristan, Olympic. This is an all-star game. This is an all-star showing, both of them, and this is why I love Rocket League. And honestly, it's such a damn privilege to see this culminate in this. It's an all-star final,
and it's not not just Rocket League. It's the format of RSC, which gets to see this kind of the matchups as they are, and it's been a fascinating journey to see the rosters that gelled, that worked, the ones that didn't, and it's great experience for the draft for season 2. The returning franchises will have learned some valuable lessons on. It's not just the CMV. There are a few other factors involved.
I mean, definitely. I think what's really, really fascinating is that all of the franchises in the first season did a complete blind draft. So other than a couple of the master players, the general managers didn't really know who was who in the zoo. But now they've got 2 months worth of stats to look at, down to how much boost each player used on average per game.
Yes.
So they can set up their team in such a way that, okay, this guy's going to be first man, he's got a lot of demos. Then this man's going to be second man, he's got a lot of finishes, and this man's going to be third man because he's got a lot of saves and assists. So you've got so many ways to go through the data, and I think I'm so excited just to see what the managers are going to do come season 2, because now they've got the information, and I'm really interested to see how it's going to turn out, to be honest.
And we have to point out, because what you're seeing on the screen there is the win-lose record for the last 5 series. And Dynasty struggling in some of the lower tiers, but up in the master tier, my word, win. It's been a hell of a ride for Dynasty Red.
Guns and Co are taking no prisoners. When I pulled this report, I did in a hurry and I didn't actually even look. 5 wins on the trot. I'm not even sure if any other team in the entire competition has done that.
I'd be surprised if they had. I mean, no one. I don't know how Diamond did. I wouldn't mind looking at Diamond, Bijou's Diamond in Rival. Is it Rival? It is Rival, yes. Because I know their last few wins have been pretty impressive.
Diamond in Rival. I will let you know right now.
I don't. That's not 5 in a row. I think maybe 3. The last 3 they've won. Flosie's in chat. He'll know.
Yeah, Flosie, tell us.
Give us the scoop there, Flosie. So, while 3 draws and 2 wins. Oh, it's a little... Okay. Well, there we go. So, the value of a draw and the fact that you're getting a point for every game you win does impact it over the course of a season, because they're top, looking strong, finished top of their tier with 3 draws and 2 wins, but undefeated. Not wins, but undefeated in the last 5.
Oh no, definitely. That's what I was saying. Even if you draw, it's still 2 points, and over a season, that'll carry you damn far.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so now, I mean, we have the franchise standings, Bromeo, but I don't know. I mean, what the significance is, other than it's just. I mean, obviously the franchise aren't playing for a piece of the prize pool. It's just sort of pride in the choices you made at the draft and how you managed it.
I know that the European boys hand out franchise awards. It's for pride, it's for prestige. Remember, players want to sign for a successful organization, a well-run organization. So even though there's physically no prize to having won, there's a lot at stake for a franchise who does well and who does badly. I mean, currently on the franchise standings, Bijou is on top, Shadow at the bottom, and everybody else in between. And it's more of a reflection on the manager's selection policy, how they run training, because 7 weeks is a long time to improve your team. So a successful franchise isn't just a sum of its players, it's the sum of the moving parts. So congrats to Scream from Bijou, Apex, Epidex, Valkyrie Knights, Kirika. They're the top 3 franchises as they are currently. And that in itself is commendable. I mean, they're top by a good few. I think difference between third and fourth is 9 game wins, and I think Shadows in last could overtake Fort Templar because they've still got another 12 games to go, I think.
Oh, okay, got you, between the 3 tiers. Okay.
Yes. But kudos to the top 3. They've been absolutely flying.
All right. Well, that's pretty much as it stands now. And there we go. That Flosi has mentioned in chat, by the way, that they went undefeated the whole season, which is pretty impressive.
They didn't lose a game.
So that's pretty good going. And as a result, finishing top of their tier. And Bromeo, it's quite something. I can't believe these weeks have flown by. I mean, they've been very busy, and I know. I mean, I've seen a lot of the activity of between you and Falcon and the EU guys, and I mean, so much happens behind the scenes to make this work. So it has flown by very quickly just by the fact that it has been so busy, but. I mean, it feels like a couple of weeks ago we had the conversation about, hey, there's this RSC thing. Should we do it?
When you first came to me, I was like, what crack are you on? What is this? I didn't understand what an RSC was.
Yeah.
And after having seen all of it and seen what the European guys do that side, and seeing how this draft system, getting everybody into play together, teams playing with players that have never met each other, let alone played a game with each other. And, that's what RSC is all about, because our scene is very small and it's not going to get bigger unless we broaden our horizons a little bit and introduce somebody who isn't part of the scene and play with somebody who you wouldn't normally play with. And this is the only way we get better. And so that for me is the biggest selling point of the RSC. RSC allows SSA to get better so that when RLCS comes around, when VS comes around, these will be far more competitive because we've got data, we've got facts, we've got friends.
And I think, and there'll be more people in the competitive pool because, there are people who play this that, like me, I'm very competitive, but I'm never going to play competitive Rocket League. And I'll play. I love these leagues, and I think there's a lot of people like that who just want to have a bit of a jaw and feel like they're part of something. But there will be that percentage where the competition bug bites. And certainly like someone like Flosi who got featured last week as a player making an impact there. I know he's on the grind. He's players like that who now go, okay, I want to go further. I want to find myself at the higher levels of competition.
I mean, I agree with that completely. RSC allows RLCS managers to go through the data and pick up players who would normally fly under the radar. Like one example for me would be Zar from Elite Tier Prototype. He's an absolute workhorse. He's the quintessential third man. And you won't see him on the leaderboards for the flashy plays, but he's the one who does the hard yards. He gets the assists, he gets the saves, and he initiates the plays. And there's no ways that you would have seen that from watching a couple of RLCS replays, right? Because I think his competition there has been very limited. But honestly, seeing how he's been playing, he could easily be in a top 12 team.
All right, well, that does. I've had a few people ask, and I'm sure you've had questions as well, Bromeo, on when the next season of RSC is going to be. And the stat, there's a lot going on and planned for Rocket League in SSA next year. There's RLCS, there's RSC, there's VS Gaming, there's the ACGL grind, and then I'm sure lots of other things in and around that. But we all sit and wait for the RLCS announcement. That's kind of because that's the thing that takes precedence, and is the final boss of Rocket League. So once we have dates for RLCS, then we can plan all the other events around that to make sure they don't conflict and override, and it can all hopefully, I mean, we say this, work, but like gears and work seamlessly. It's going to be chaos, whatever happens, but pretty much we're waiting. I mean, we'd love to start sort of late January, but we have to wait. That may not be possible. It may be February, but there will absolutely be a second season.
No, 100%. With the uptake, it's made me so proud because it's the master tier are the ones who get all the plaudits. But the way that some of these lower teams have done so well, like Dynasty Gold, not having dropped a single game their entire season, they've trained together, they've worked hard. Apex Tanuki, having a look at the rival tier, Flowsy's team not dropping a game either. And this is a raw draft. So it's players getting together who would normally not have played together, training, and then executing it, as they see fit. You can see that these are the teams that put in the hard yards. And ranked has gotten really difficult in the last couple of weeks playing on SA servers. I'm not saying it's RSC, but wow.
Yeah, listen, I have to tell you, I know a lot of people like to cast the master tier because that's where all the sort of high octane action is. But as a fairly experienced caster who gets to cast that sort of action a lot, I have loved casting prospect and rival tier. I get a special joy out of watching those games and being part of that. So and also for me, that's the future of the game. Seeing the unskilled player who's flipping and flopping around the field now, that in 2 seasons' time is going to be in master tier, RLCS, and kicking ass.
One of the biggest reasons RSC held so much appeal for me from a community perspective is that rival tier, prospect tier are levels of players that are critically underrepresented in all of the other formats of the game from competitions, because it all caters towards your high level teams, and there's no place for guys to grow unless it's in the deep end of day one of an RLCS split.
Come and get smashed by Snowy's team, and yeah.
I mean that happened to me. I remember we got dumped on by Bravado a couple seasons back in VS, and I was plat at the time. To say it was traumatic was an understatement, but finally there is a way for players new to the game to get funneled in and work their way to the top, because now it's not RLCS or bust. It's start off in prospect. Your next goal is rival. Your next goal is elite. And then hell, once you've made it to master, you should be in an RLCS team.
Absolutely.
Simple as that.
All right, good. Well, that's going to wrap it up for RSC for this week and the league. But lots of action to come. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday next week. Still trying to figure out what will happen with the podcast next week, if we'll sort of skip to the week after, or maybe have a pre-show, or I'm not sure, but announcements will be made as decisions are made. But Bromeo, since you're here, you might as well stick around to the end because I'm going to run through quickly because last Saturday was the final of the SSA Regional Rumble hosted by APL Esports, sponsored by Psyonix. And this was the finals, 25th of November, Saturday. That's what the bracket looked like. 6 teams starting things off. Alt F4, temporarily reformed, just here for cake. Water, Spain, and Bonjour. Spain and Bonjour, because of their finishing top of their groups on day one, went straight through to the semi-finals. And their Alt F4, Werty's team, going down to the old age home, temporarily reformed with Skill Steel. They had a good performance there. Werty's team going out, earning $1,200, so not too bad. And then on the other side of the bracket, just here for cake, not quite sweeping, but doing very well over Water, 4-1, moving through to the semis. And Spain beating temporarily reformed in the first semi-final 4-0. And worth saying is that Spain dropped not a single game in the main event in day one in their group stage, and then in the bracket they looked really, really good. And then 4-1 for Bonjour over just here for cake. I know Daps was particularly irritated about that. He felt like he could have beaten them. They kind of took their eye off the ball there. And then in the grand final, Spain over Bonjour, 4-0. Spain take it in a sweep. Snowy, To Die For, and Sweaty winning $4,200. Bonjour getting $3,000. And I don't know if you caught any of that action, Bromeo, but Bonjour were looking so dangerous throughout, but just couldn't quite bring it in that grand final.
No, absolutely, Greybeard. I didn't have the opportunity to watch those games. Running an RSC is like having a kid. It requires constant attention. But I know the roster of Spain is an absolute cheat code. So to say that I'm surprised, I don't think so. I mean, Sweaty, Snowy, and To Die For. That's wild.
Yeah, and it's worth saying Spain and Bonjour are confirmed rosters. Cams, Guns, and Willu for Bonjour will be competing in RLC under that roster. And Spain, Snowy, To Die For, and Sweaty, they will be competing on that roster. And then the tournament MVP winning an additional $500 was, of course, no surprise to anybody, To Die For. And then the graphics I have aren't as sexy as RSC's, but I have a couple of stats for the Rumble, which was kind of interesting to me. And I don't know if you have a quick look at that. These are the top 10 players for the entirety of the Rumble. So going from the bi-weeklies into the day one of the main event, and then day two, To Die For at the top. Then Sweaty, Dap, Snowy, Cams, Ram, Eli, Werty, Willu, and Josh. And surprising to me, I mean, unsurprisingly, To Die For, Sweaty, and Snowy in the top 4. But the first player from Bonjour is 5th in Cams, and Daps having himself a great tournament, coming in as the third in the top 10 players.
Well, I gotta say, with the results that we've just gone through, and Spain not dropping a single game, there's plenty of opportunity for higher scores there. So that does influence the table. Just a question. This says top 10 players, but what is the metric that they're being judged by here?
Okay, so this is taken from the octane.gg website, who sort of accumulate and their secret sauce on how they get to the top players they don't disclose, but it's based on their performances throughout. So it takes into account win percentage, goals scored, saves, assists, probably boost consumption, but it's a whole bunch of metrics that gives the player ratings.
So it's a power rating, but just trust us.
Pretty much. Yeah, exactly. I mean, all the stats are there. I mean, you can go to the website and drill down into all the stats. The only thing they've kept secret is how they get to that To Die For 1.685. What does that mean? How's that made? We don't know. But there is an element of they said it must be true.
No, 100%, and a lot of these, data-based factoids are really, really important because it shows just how dominant To Die For, Sweaty, and Daps and Snowy were over the length of that tournament, and it reflects in the score. And so it's pretty hard to dispute as well. But it's very interesting to see who else makes up all the top 10, because, To Die For, Sweaty's the new guy on the scene for the last season or two, and Snowy, obviously. But I've really enjoyed the fact that these have not been your traditional rosters, that it's been a mix-up, and because there hasn't been RLCS for so long, now we're looking at a new breed of team, and this is exciting for the casual viewer.
No, it's very cool. And I mean, there's some new players that have come out. I mean, the rosters of like Kaiser Chefs and Bird did very well, but players like Nitro, JRS, Zyro, suddenly there's like, ooh, those are interesting players, and I think there's going to be a little bit of scouting for some newer players once RLCS rolls around. So all very exciting. And then the last stat I have for this, so strikers, the top 5 strikers for the Rumble tournament: To Die For, scoring 2 goals, same as Shen's. Shen's is as good as To Die For, scoring 2 goals per game. Dap second at 1.5, Sweaty at 1.2, Snowy the same at 1.2, and Cams at 1.24. So those are your top 5 strikers. Top 5 saviors, most saves. Werty, no surprise there, since he's the top savior in the whole of RSC in week 6 anyway, getting 1.9 saves. Archeon 1.8, Eli 1.7, Cams 1.7, and Josho 1.6. And there were lots of other stats, but quite honestly, I got lazy after doing these 2 graphics.
No, honestly, this is a pretty telling stat as well, because To Die For, Sweaty, and Snowy are all on the strikers tab, but they're not on the saviors tab, and that tells you that Spain won not because they saved more, but because they scored more.
Yeah, and then Cam's from Bonjour, the one player who does appear on both sides. So he's up there scoring and saving, and Cams has always been great that way. And Cams is one of those players who's almost is under threat of being underrated just because he is so good on both sides of the pitch. So he's kind of everywhere, but that's Cams.
No, 100%. And if I challenge you to take a look through every single master tier team player of the week in each category, and I would be damn surprised if Cam doesn't appear at least once each time.
All right, I see Arch has arrived in chat. Hello, Arch. Good to see you. Okay, and I think that wraps it up for my fabulous PowerPoint presentation. And there we go. I think that's going to pretty much wrap it up for the week. Breezy had a question on how CMV is going to work in RSC next season. And I'm sure that it's probably too early to figure.
No.
Do you have an answer to that? Is that it's the same thing?
It's incredibly simple. CMV is simply your highest rank achieved in 2s or 3s over the last year, so 5 seasons. So if, for example, you've got like a high CMV, but you peaked like a year ago, that's when your CMV could possibly drop. But there will also be adjustments based on how you did in your respective tier, because I'm sure, Greybeard, and chat, that the power rankings exist. And the power rankings show how well somebody performed. And if somebody's on the high end of the power ranking, they're going to be, have their CMV applied a bonus. So saying these guys are actual cheat codes, they deserve to be a little bit higher or a little bit more expensive, and so on and so forth. So it will be pretty similar, but there will be a few small tweaks in there. But overall, I'd expect to see a couple of prospects in rival, a couple of rivals in elite, because that's the whole point. We want you to move up that ladder.
Yeah, and then and in Breezy, there's 2 months before the next RSC. We got at least December and probably most of January. So keep grinding, I guess. Your peak from a year ago may not be your peak in a month or so from now. Okay, so I think we are now going to wrap it up. I will be streaming again on Tuesday morning. It's a very odd time to be streaming, 10:30 in the morning on Tuesday, where I'll be having the conversation with Beastbound, my coach, and we're going to formulate a plan for my 1 year challenge. So if you're interested in that and you have the time off, then make sure you come and join me then. So we're going to end off, as we always do, with a raid. And there's a surprisingly few people live. So I think it's going to have to be RSC EU. Our other choices are Corelli, Scrub, and Uni Rocketeers. So my vote goes to RSC EU. So we're going to go ahead and raid them. Make sure to say, how's it? And make sure you're following them if you haven't already. But Bromeo, thanks for coming to hang and giving us the whole breakdown for the RSC SSA Season 1 of League Play.
Yeah, thanks for having me, GB.
All right, peace out. Let's go say how's it to RSC EU. Why is that not working? That's not working.